Over the years, we've all seen the men on TV demonstrate how to build cabinets, furniture, such as Norm at the New Yankee Workshop. And he always showed you a completed project first so you could see what it was going to look like and get an understanding. This is a simple tenon drawn on the end of a 4x7 rafter. This tenon would be called a tongue, or a tongue and fork joint for the two rafters to join at the peak. I've marked the reference face, the reference edge, and the adjacent face with my red lumber crayon. The reference face triangle is filled in, so I designates that it's the reference face. The open triangle designates that it's the adjacent face. So this is the reference face, this is the adjacent face. The bottom of the rafter or timber would be the opposite the reference, because it's opposite the reference face. The back side, or this side of this timber rafter, is opposite the adjacent. So those are the four names of the four sides of your timber. Our layout for this rafter is 1.5 inches off the reference and then 1.5 inches thick. That's one of the rules of the joints of this frame. Another one of the rules of the joints of this frame is that all timbers are reduced by 1/2 inch. Here, on the bottom side, on the opposite reference, we see that the timber has been reduced 1/2 inch from the nominal size of 7, if it truly is 7, to 6.5. This timber is actually a little more than 7, and it's because of the variability of the lumber timbers coming from the sawmill that we use the square rule layout, and we reduce the timber to a known size, and we create the joint of the same size, and the two pieces fit together every time. I'm going to demonstrate how to lay out this tenon with this reduction on a blank sample piece. This piece was rejected from the pile for obvious reasons, but it makes a nice sample piece to demonstrate on. Using my lumber crayon and a crayon holder, I'm going to designate this edge as a reference edge, and this face as the adjacent face. Reference face, adjacent face, reference edge, also known as an eris. An eris is a geometric name of two surfaces where two surfaces meet. The timber that this one is going to be adjoining will be reduced to 6.5. Our tenon will be laid out as a 6.5 inch tenon. Starting at 10, I'm laying out to 6.5. That would be the shoulder. The reduction that's going to be made on the bottom is 1.5 inches long. So I'm adding another 1.5 inches and making this mark here. I'm now done with my tape. I don't need it any longer. I can lay out the entire tenon and reduction from these two marks by using a Big Al layout tool. The first rule on a Big Al and layout of square rule joints is that you can only use your Big Al against your adjacent or against your reference. You cannot use it like this. This side of the timber is inaccurate, and it doesn't matter what it is. Our shoulder and layout is 1.5 inches off the layout face and then 1.5 inches thick. I'm going to turn my labels up so I see 1.5 inches and 3. I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to draw a line over to the 1.5 inches. Then I'm going to pick my pencil up and come in at 3 and draw over. The end of the tenon is here. That's a straight line all the way across. It's also a straight line down, because it's a cutoff, the end of the tenon. I projected the end of the tenon line down the other side. Now we're 1.5 inches, and I'm going to draw the line across at 1.5 inches and draw the line across at 3 inches. This is the shape of the top of the tenon. This is waist. This is waist. To make it more visible, we mark them in red so that we know what is waist. We can also write the word tenon right on the tenon so we know what we're working with. There is no line straight across because the tenon is flush with the top of the timber. A straight, solid line is a cut line. A dotted line is a reference line. Now I'm going to lay out the side. The reduction is going to come down here at 6.5. And it's going to project back on a 45-degree angle. Using my combination ruler, square, I'm going to project the 45 back. This is waist. This is waist here. We've projected the end of timber here. The shoulder is here. The edge of the shoulder, the reduction is here. The edge of the 45 is there. As this is the bottom of the timber, We connect these two lines irregardless of using the square to a face. This line is a shoulder. This line is a cut line. This line is the 45 projected. We also lay out the tenon on the bottom. So that we can see exactly where it is. This is waist, this is waist, this is waist, this is waist, but only down. This is a little waist here. This is the tenon. Now I'm going to lay out the last side. This is a cut line. Here's our 6.5 back to the end. It's our shoulder line. Referencing from the top, I get my 45. The 45 is projected back to the 45 line. It lines right up. We now mark out the waist. This is waist, this is waist, this is waist. It's all laid out except the end of the tenon on the end of the timber. This end of the timber right now is from the chainsaw that cut the tree down. This isn't an accurate end to use to lay out a tenon. We normally cut the timber to length at the end of the tenon and transfer the tenon lines onto the end of the timber. I'll show you how to do that next.